Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us live at the market site in Times Square, New York City, we have Juthica Chou. She is the head of OTC options over at Kraken. We're going to talk about the Kraken intelligence report, which tracks trends in the digital asset space. Juthica, it's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
In studio, welcome to the market site. And let's talk about the month of September. It really was underwhelming for the crypto space. Any key takeaways that you saw?
Well, I think on paper, it was a little underwhelming. As you mentioned, crypto didn't perform that well, with Bitcoin ending the month down 7%, Ethereum down 13%, certain alts down even more. But I think that doesn't really tell the full story. It was a little bit of a pickup in volatility. Bitcoin volatility was up to 75, Ethereum up to 100. And so we actually saw Bitcoin trade as high as 53K before ending the month at 43K. So I think that tells a little bit more of a richer story in terms of volatility and trading opportunity throughout the month.
Right, it doesn't sound like there was a specific catalyst for any sort of sell-off, if you will.
I think so. We saw a couple things that happened. It's hard to say always which was the main catalyst, but Bitcoin and cryptocurrency definitely felt some of the repercussions of Evergrande and what was impacting the broader markets. We also saw a little bit of FUD from China, which comes every now and then for crypto, and those definitely affected the sell-offs. And then the last piece, it's always a confluence of factors, is there's always a little bit of leverage in liquidations that can exacerbate moves, and I think we saw some of those, especially to the downside in Bitcoin.
Right, and what's interesting with DeFi, it also had a strong start to September. Of course, you see a little bit of value slippage there, but capital investment continues to be robust.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the total value locked, as you alluded to, did slip month over month, but intra-month it did peak. Ethereum was up to 145 billion, Solana up to 12 billion. So I think we're seeing the strong trends there in terms of the activity, and then institutional investment. I think most people think of institutions like traditional financial institutions, but VCs like A16Z, Three Arrows Capital continue to devote significant amount of capital to investing both in the layer one as well as applications, and we saw more of those in September as well.
How about NFTs? Was it related to Bitcoin and the move that we saw there, or is there anything new that you can identify in terms of innovation that really has been continuing to move that along?
So NFTs did drop a little bit month over month in terms of activity, and that is related to Bitcoin, Ethereum. I think in general, when crypto sells off, when people become a little bit more risk averse, you're going to see that impact things like NFTs. But there's still traditional mainstream partnerships that are going in a really accelerated pace in NFTs. There's soccer leagues and rugby leagues, and every day there's more and more announcements. And so I think the mainstream adoption of NFTs is in the right direction.
How do the trends compare to September historically? We know in the equity markets, September, even October, tends to be more volatile. Anything there that you saw from a historical perspective that correlated to September 2021? And then what's your outlook from here?
So September was about in line with, historically, it's not the best performing month. Actually, it's often the worst performing month for crypto. So the down month was about in line. Volatility was a little bit higher. Typically, it's a little lower. But the fourth quarter for crypto is historically a very strong one. For Bitcoin in particular, I think the average is about 100% gain on the quarter, and median around 50%. Either way, it could point to gains, it could not. But I think the fourth quarter is always an exciting time because it's when asset managers, institutions are thinking about their 2022, New Year exposure, and now crypto and Bitcoin is part of that conversation.
We saw that in Q4 last year for sure, and some of the year-end targets are pretty substantial for what we're seeing in crypto. To wrap up here, any other thing that you want to call out from the report?
Well, I think a lot of times we tend to focus on the sell-offs because they get the most news and attention. But Bitcoin's still up 25% in the third quarter. A lot of the non-price indicators like on-chain activity and investment in the space are very bullish. And so I think the underlying trends that we see are really pointing in the positive direction.
All right, Juthica, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.